building the ultimate surprise and delight campaign. And so I have a little bit of experience with this. It was one that I had selected, but I've read the book Likeable Social Media by a guy named Dave Kerpen, who I heard about 2 years ago at South by Southwest.
Oh, right. We did a Spark session with him.
And we did a Spark session with him, so we did a live webcast with him, I think it was last May. And this is very much his mantra: surprise and delight, surprise and delight, surprise and delight. Always look for the way to spring the unexpected on your audience, because he focuses very much on social media, obviously, and give them something that shocks them or surprises them, but it is also a very positive experience. So whether that is
like a meme or a meme or whatever,
whether it's a funny meme or a giveaway or just something that grabs their attention in an interesting way that they just were not expecting. So with that context, I came to this session expecting to hear some really innovative ideas on how this company in general, which is called Digital Roots, they were the ones hosting it. And they had their chief technology officer there and their chief marketing officer there. And actually their CEO was there in the audience too. But it didn't end up really turning out to be that way. It was much more of a technical marketing how-to, almost a walkthrough of how to integrate a social media campaign into your company. So it was not creative ideas so much as it was
elevating the ideas. It was how to
it was just
start.
Yeah, it was basically a how to get off the ground. But the couple of takeaways that I took from the session was they talked a lot about forums. So we're big advocates of Facebook and Twitter and getting our brands out there, because that just heightens your visibility. It heightens awareness of what you're doing, and so nonprofits need to be doing those things, and we've been vocal about that for a long time.
Right. Well, and really, I think in today's world, it really makes you look more valid too.
Absolutely. But they also, the Digital Roots talked about the fact that social really isn't searchable, and you don't see Twitter updates, in the top 10 searches on Google or in the top 3 pages, which they said, if you're not in the top 3 pages, it's not even worth it.
Right.
And people aren't finding you. But forums are often in the top-rated search category, so anywhere from number 3 to number 1. And so engaging your audience in a personalized forum, whether that's hosted by you or hosted by somebody else, can be a great way to build a community. You often get very dedicated users that become your brand champions in the forums. And if you find ways to surprise and delight them, and they gave the example of Ford doing this, where Ford has the forums where they invite their customers to come on board. This one guy had bought a Ford Mustang brand new and wanted to trick it out with everything possible, but couldn't find a good company nearby him to do so. And so he came onto the forums, asked the question. The Ford rep responded and gave him, oh, this person does great work. And this guy was so excited about this that he's been on that forum for years now, always hyping Ford, hyping them up, saying, hey, this, and specifically the brand ambassador that worked for Ford, I can't remember what her name was, but he was always about, giving her credit for it, even for a long time after the fact. And so that
think about how simple that is. That's, hey, here's a place to go.
Yeah.
Period. It took 5 seconds.
And it really didn't cost Ford anything. It wasn't like they were giving away free parts. They were just making a recommendation for someone that did good work. And they also talked about how doing stuff like that, where in forums, if you come in as an official member of, in this case, Ford's official member, there were people in there that were very suspicious because they thought, well, this person might try to cancel out people's warranties because they're modifying their cars. Instead, Ford flipped that on its head and actually made a recommendation. And it's paid dividends now, again, for years. So that was just really interesting. I know that when I do searches that I come across a lot of forums if I'm trying to fix a problem, right?
Right.
And so
if you type in a question to Google, you're like, how do I
fix this problem that I'm having with Apple iTunes, right? Because I have a lot of problems with that. And
more than likely, you're not the first person who's had that problem.
And so Apple's official forums more often than not are the top-rated comment, and Apple itself is not providing the answer. Another user is, and sometimes it's an official Apple fix. Other times it is not. So it's just something to think about. Forums are actually, they go way back in history on the internet. But it was a unique perspective. It's not that we need to shift from engaging on social media to engaging on forums. It's finding the time to do both.
How do you think the nonprofits we work with can really utilize that? Like I'm trying to think of some of the think tanks.
It's creating the community, so creating the platform. So creating a forum and finding a model that works for you, whether that's create one from scratch or find one that's out there and existing that you can piggyback on, or if there's a national forum network that would work for nonprofits, that's a possibility. But then it really is just community cultivation. Same way that you cultivate your community on Facebook, posting interesting topics, posting engaging content, responding to people when they post on those networks. It's the same thing with the forum. It's just a different medium, a different platform, and probably it has some of its own rules too. But realizing that you're going to the communities that do forums right get a very dedicated and hardcore fan base, but that can flip on you if you don't respond and build the relationship in the right way. So I found that very compelling. And then I guess again it was more just about outlining your goals. Again, very basic and general stuff, but the idea of forums was kind of the most compelling piece that I took away from this. So interesting topic.
Yeah, especially thinking about analytics and getting people to your website and getting your SEO up and all of that. It's really interesting.
Which is and what's so unique about it is it's almost like going back to go forward.
You know what
I mean? Like
because forums are very AOL.
Yeah, I mean, you think about forums and it's like, oh, that was the beginnings of the internet.
Right. You have problems with the iPhone, I have problems with Samsung. So as much as I love them.
And I think also anticipating what your customers are, or your clients, or your donors, in the case of the nonprofit. This was the other point that I meant to make and I forgot to. Anticipating what they want. In forums, people post a question and then they'll post the answer. And so when you type into Google, I need help with XYZ, that's where it takes you. And so as a company, you can anticipate that and say you don't have the time or the resources to invest in building a forum. Well, you can build an FAQ and you can build a how-to video, or and make sure to tag it appropriately and make it findable on your website and make it searchable by Google so that they're pointing back to that solution. But so anticipating the questions that your audience will have and then building the answers into it, because you don't want to have people, in the case of a for-profit company, calling your customer service line. If you can solve the problem for them by providing the answer on your website, then you free up a lot of resources for people that have to answer phones. And that was kind of the case study that they used for nonprofits. If you can provide people with the answers, they're going to go online and search first before they email you, call you, even contact you on social media. If they have a question, they're probably going to go to your website first. So that's just something to anticipate.